The Great Reset explained. 1. You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. Berlin, 1933. This statement is eerily reminiscent of the slogan on the prisoner's entrance to World War II Nazi concentration camps. Secured by an iron gate, the words read, "Work will make you free." On March 22, 1933, a few weeks after Adolf Hitler had been appointed Reich Chancellor, concentration camps for political prisoners were set up. In the weeks, months, and years that followed, Jews throughout Nazi-occupied territories were isolated from civil society, their businesses boycotted, buildings ransacked and set on fire, students and teachers expelled from educational institutions, men, women, and children chased from their homes, stripped of their citizenship, and eventually imprisoned. The Nazi had branded the concentration camps as labor and re-education camps. However, the focus was to use forced labor as a method of torture and eventually murder. Berlin, 1884. The strategy of seizing property as a means of obtaining financing and control has been used countless times throughout history. In 1884, just 55 years prior to the events of World War II, some 13 European powers came together to plan the invasion, occupation, division, and colonization of African territories. In what is now commonly known as the Scramble for Africa, the land was stripped of its natural resources and the people enslaved on their own native land to serve the colonial forces. The ways European countries and powers caused harm not just to the land but to the African people are immeasurable, the effects of which are still felt to date. The slogan therefore served as both propaganda for the outside world and a form of mockery for the prisoners within, for freedom inevitably meant being worked to death. Such sadistic or dark humor was not unusual in Nazi circles. Other examples include Max Heiliger. As prisoners entered the camps, they surrendered all personal property. Max Heiliger was a false identity created during the Nazi era to establish bank accounts for laundering and sale of valuables stolen from those killed in the Holocaust. Using the name Heiliger was a sinister joke, since the word means saint, from the word heilig, holy. Furthermore, the one-way paths to the gas chambers at Sobibor and Treblinka death camps were called Himmelstrasse, meaning Heaven Street, the road to heaven. The characteristics of property. The notion that you can have nothing and be happy is entirely false. Riding on recent public sentiment against a rogue form of capitalism, this statement is intended to appeal to the naive or uncritical mind that wouldn't immediately take into account that ownership of property includes both tangible and intangible assets. In addition to individual material possessions such as clothes, furniture, homes, cars, there's also the area of intellectual property to take into consideration, that is, all forms of copyright, trademarks, and patents, a fact that the World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab is on record as having acknowledged. It's important to note that what the World Economic Forum terms as predictions are in fact premises, that is, ideas based on certain beliefs, and under the premise you will own nothing, any musical compositions, theatrical scripts, screenplays, blueprints, logos, slogans, written works of fiction or non-fiction, photography, sculptures, paintings, recipes, news articles, computer software. Although you'd be the originator, it would no longer be yours to own, profit from, share, or pass on as an inheritance to your successors. Furthermore, this would then explain why 4 of the Big 5 Hollywood film studios, namely Warner Brothers, the Walt Disney Company, Universal Pictures, and Paramount Pictures, along with conglomerates such as Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, do not feature in the World Economic Forum's list of partner companies. Also missing from the list of prominent partners are our largest contemporary book publishers, Penguin Random House, Hachette, HarperCollins, Macmillan Publishers, Simon & Schuster, Encyclopedia Britannica, and Merriam-Webster, as well as educational publishers McGraw-Hill and the British-owned Pearson Education. All organizations whose work and contributions are founded and consist solely on the intangible, intellectual property. Ultimately, however, what is being challenged with this premise is the fundamental human right to property. Article 17 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights enshrines the right to property as follows. 1. Everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others. And 2. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his or her property. To expound and borrow from the famed economist Murray M. Rothbard, the human right of every man to his own life implies the right to find and transform resources, to produce that which sustains and advances life for himself and others, and furthermore in totality, on a physical, psychological, and emotional level. That product is a man's property. There is no difference, nor can a distinction be made between human rights and property rights. Private property rights are therefore absolutely essential for the individuals in a society and ultimately society as a whole to flourish.